Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 for this news report today for Wednesday, July 10th, 2013. I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com. On YouTube, my channels are ddarko2012 and ddarko2013. So thank you for joining me. The second video, we're going to cover some kind of domestic news and surveillance news. Middle class revolution fuels Pentagon war plan. So I'll move down here, and it says here the ticking gets louder, the time bomb grows bigger, the explosive fuel goes global, and 2020 is dead ahead. So it goes on here, and it says that the middle class revolution, a Wall Street Journal feature by Stanford University scientist, author of the 1992 The End of History and the Last Man. He goes on here and says, today's political turmoil has a common theme, the failure of governments to meet the rising expectations of newly prosperous and educated. So I don't know about that, but says the Pentagon 2020 battle plan. Yes, there is a middle-class revolution. Yes, it is spreading worldwide, putting in place a network of ticking time bombs. But not only is government failing, not only is capitalism failing, but this Fukuyama is ignoring the real bomb. Buried deep inside this new global revolution, the new age of global warfare that the Bush Pentagon warned of a decade ago. By 2020, there's little doubt that something drastic is happening as the planet's carrying capacity shrinks. An ancient pattern of desperate all-out wars for food, water, and energy supplies would emerge. Warfare is defining human life. It says, but the protests have been led not by the poor, as in many revolutions throughout history, but by young people with higher than average levels of education and income. So they're using like social networking sites. Even in countries that hold regular democratic elections, he says, they feel alienated from the ruling political elite. Well, they're not democracies. North Carolina National Guard Rapid Reaction Force for civil unrest training photos. So you can go there and check it out. This is from July 3rd. We just covered this. This is what? North Carolina. So, and they're getting ready for civil unrest. Underground RV park lets you survive the apocalypse, it says redneck style. So if you're determined to live through any possible doomsday scenario, the thought of climbing into one of those deep underground shelters might give you a pause. It says here you might want a double wide, basically RV. So it says here, dug over 100 years ago as part of a limestone mining operation, the bunker in Kansas covers 45 acres, sitting about 150 feet below the ground. The developer says the structure can withstand a 1 megaton nuclear blast just 10 miles away. So it says there's no word on how many apocalyptic zombies the doors can hold back. Temperature inside hangs around low 70s. So once again, you have Adam Kokesh arrested. It says here he's raided by stormtrooper cops. Police smash into the residence of the gun activist, deploy flashbang grenades. So this is after he staged an open carry protest by loading a shotgun in Washington, D.C. Russian plane to conduct observation flights over the U.S. and Canada. We've covered this before, but it's back in the news. A group of Russian inspectors will conduct observation flights over the United States and Canada in the framework of the International Open Skies Treaty. I wonder if the chemtrail weather modification or geoengineering falls under the International Open Skies Treaty. Flights will be carried out between July 7th and July 21st. So to me personally, you know you're not living in a sovereign nation anymore when you have crap like this. These observation flights are performed in order to assist the openness and transparency in the military activities. Have these things been approved by the American people? No, because they don't have a say. So, you know. Here's here, this Broward County Sheriff's Office prepares Zimmerman verdict riot plan. So on Monday, the County Sheriff's Office released a video calling on the public not to riot in the wake of George Zimmerman's verdict, expected this week or next in Florida. They're working closely with the police department and other law enforcement agencies to coordinate a response plan in anticipation of the verdict. It says, raise your voice, not your hands. That's what the video is titled. Freedom of expression is a constitutional right, saying while raising your voice is encouraged, using your hands is not. So, if you haven't seen that movie, The Purge, I just saw it with Ethan Hawke. It's pretty creepy. Basically, the plot is they have this 24-hour moratorium on law. So you can basically do anything to anybody else except for government officials. That's what they say. And they say it's to basically to take out something, basically to let people vent event. And they kind of like talking about the lower classes, but when you see it, it's really for people. It's for the elites, these elite oligarch class, and they're going around and killing people, and targeting homeless people, calling them basically filth. So, but like every other movie, they have their propaganda and their plans, kind of like white guilt and stuff like that. The father doesn't know best, so Zimmerman won't testify, so defense rests, so jury could have a case in a matter of days. So here we go, right in the heat of the summer, right? NYPD releases harmless gases in subway for chemical weapons study. The National Laboratory, Brookhaven. Whew, yeah. These are the national laboratories that help not produce, but they've helped create technology for these synthetics that they're spraying in the skies, these nanoparticles. Will begin studying airflow in the subway system. Again, asking people whether they can consent to this. I'm not sure if they did. Lawmaker demands the National Guard patrol the streets of Chicago to stop gun violence. The military could soon be patrolling the streets of Chicago, Illinois, if local lawmakers have their way. So they said here that Monique Davis has asked the governor to deploy a National Guard among the epidemic of violent crimes. Everybody else suffers. So, yeah, 72 people, victims, were injured or killed by guns on the 4th of July weekend. Were they killed by guns? Well, yeah, guns was probably what they were autopsied. Yeah, they died of a bullet wound, but somebody killed them. The gun didn't walk out of the house and start killing people indiscriminately without anybody behind it pulling the trigger. Illinois is last state to allow concealed carry of guns, so I guess they just can't. This is my point I want to make. The only reason that I think that they're allowing this is because it's kind of hindering commerce. So this is what when things like this happen, it hinders commerce. Then they'll throw a few guns in the hands of people. Obviously, it's good for the gun complex, for the defense and weapons complex manufacturers. But I think this is to keep commerce going. It's no one's going to invest in it. So in that area. Honor student beaten by police. I woke spitting my teeth out on the ground. So this is in Illinois, in Bloomington. I believe that's by Southern Illinois University. The night was warm and clear. Partying after friends, they decided to go out to local neighborhood Denny's to get a late night meal. So she's an honor student at Wiley College. Finished high school a year early and went to college a year before. So sitting on the side in the parking lot. Says here the high school grads basically witnessed a fight between two girls. As a group of college-bound students were ordering their drinks, the cops were called. When they arrived at the scene, said here, they said that they were not involved in the fight, and the cops went back outside. So they came up to her to their table basically again, and they grabbed one of the guys that were sitting at the table with them. It says as she exited Denny's, she felt a grip on her neck, and then as out of reaction, she tried to pull away. What happened next was unimaginable. She was hit in the face with a nightstick by a female officer, was knocked unconscious. When she came to, the officer began to choke her, and says, when I finally I was able to talk, I asked the officer to please let me go because I have asthma, but the officer said, I don't care if you have asthma, you're hitting my officer. So, that's a nice equal balance of authority and power, right? Wounded Iraq vet ordered to remove Marine dress jacket at security screening. So everything goes, right? It's all about accountability inside the government. Marine corporal was humiliated last month when he went through a checkpoint at the California State Capitol building. Says he survived an IED attack in 2004. He was checked because he had too much metal. So you'll see these Judeo-Christian Zionists, Christian Zionists, Islamophobes, and they'll say, well, we got to do it to be tough on terror. People like Ben Affleck and that, what's wrong with getting your genitals groped? Keeps us safe, right? Well, the problem is that this individual, whether he knows it or not, he's a lot of times you're fighting for the complexes and stuff for the elites. But when you go and you sign, you raise your right hand, you swear an oath to the Constitution, all that. You're basically there to defend your freedoms, right? So that you don't have to go through this. So it's so funny that you go over there to, quote, fight for your freedoms, which you're not really doing, and then when you come back, you realize that you're not really all that free, that you're losing freedoms. Well, that's why I don't laugh, but I just kind of can laugh when I hear, people say, well, the terrorists want to attack us because we're so free. So let's take away our freedoms voluntarily, right? That doesn't make any sense. 30,000 California prisoners are refusing meals, so So they started refusing meals on Monday morning in what might become the biggest hunger strike in California prison history. So good luck. They're going to start force feeding you. John Corzine will not face criminal charges over MF Global. No criminal charges for the former New Jersey Governor Corzine over the use of customer funds leading up to the collapse of MF Global. So big shocker. But Lauryn Hill goes to jail, will serve 3 months in prison for tax evasion. Walmart to D.C. will jump ship over living wage. The mayor says ultimatum may make him veto bill. So they will have a plan to pass a drastic minimal wage hike. It would require non-union retailers with corporate sales of at least $1 billion to pay their workers at least $12 an hour. Florida accidentally banned all computers and smartphones in the state throughout internet cafes as a lawsuit. So when they recently voted to ban all internet cafes, they worded the bill so poorly that they effectively outlawed every computer in the state. The average cost per official wiretap in the U.S. is $50,000. So it's my own personal belief or theory that ever since phones were created, when they had the little operators, pulling in and out the little at the switchboards, you're wired. Everybody's been wired since it was invented. Get over it, man. I mean, what do you want to be told? But they have blockers and you can encrypt things. Judge throws out state secrets claim, allowing lawsuit against NSA to continue. So they're basically saying they conducted a legal and unconstitutional program of dragnet communication surveillance by operating warrantless surveillance on U.S. citizens via telecom companies. Federal judge orders Secret Service to release files on internet activist Aaron Swartz. So it's basically in response to a lawsuit filed by a reporter who's investigating the reasons for the heavy-handed prosecution that spurred Swartz to commit suicide. Next up, Montana. Montana, the first state to pass spy law. So first state to prevent the government from spying on anyone in the state by tracking personal information stored in electronic devices. A linchpin for Obama's plan to predict future leakers unproven isn't likely to work, says experts. So initiative at rooting out future leakers and other violators. What this is going to do is basically send a chilling effect. That's what it's to do. Don't do this or else, right? But they can't really actually stop it or prevent it. U.S. and China, the fight for Latin America. Talk about China vying for greater economic influence in Latin America, talking about the Panama Canal through Nicaragua, also a U.S.-China rivalry. Again, this is about a global system with trading blocks. This is the competition. They like to make it out like there's, going to be, us versus them, like sovereign nations competing. No, it's just corporations competing against each other, and all the citizens are the associates, the workers. And just like any corporate associate, you don't sit at the board, right? The board of trustees and all that, you don't make decisions over the means of productions. You don't get the value back that you produce. Just like as a citizen, no popular vote, there is no real democracy. You have no control over what happens. It's all done in your name. Latin American nations fuming over NSA spying allegations, so now all of a sudden you have Latin America, right, fuming over the spying. So as if they didn't know, but Bolivia threatens to close U.S. embassy after Edward Snowden plane incident. So remember this. Brazil lawmakers demand answers on U.S. spying and urge boycott. So what's going on with this? Mexico demands information on U.S. spying operations, provide broad information about leaked reports that was among Latin American nations monitored by U.S. spy agencies. So who knows if this is really what it is? There's always something behind what's going on. It could be kind of like the Eastern Bloc, the Asian Bloc, kind of trying to get in there and get interest and investments, vying over investments and resources in South America, and South Americans who are staunchly anti-imperialism or anti-Americanism. And again, anti-Americanism, again, that's something that's been done in your name, all the wars and all that, and most people don't have any say in it. So it's about bringing down America. I'm not saying that, I believe we got to restore the Republic and restore the Empire. It's nothing to be proud of, but I just think that there is something to that. Because Americans, like here in America, we do have some free speech here on the internet where other places you get arrested or hauled off. So, if people can get their shit together in America, we may actually be able to change something and influence other places of the world, make it better. But a lot of people hate us. United Stasi of America, this is Kim.com, defaces U.S. Embassy in Berlin. Most of UK's 6 million CCTV spying cameras are privately owned. UK to privatize their mail system. Private security mining company hires paramilitary commandos to guard their precious equipment. The movie The Lone Ranger film review, false flag attacks by U.S. oligarchs for resource control. Like the U.S. and West and Al-Qaeda, they pretend to be enemies but use each other's roles to further mutual policy agenda and wealth. Sound familiar?